Welcome to The Vault Unlocked, where I take a deep dive into money topics that no one wants to talk about. Happy Monday if you're listening to this the day it came out, and I hope you had an amazing weekend, not derailed by anything financial, on track with your money goals, living your life, all that good stuff. Obviously, one of the biggest things about Financial is the community element to it, that if you're on a money journey, you're not on your own. Other people may be struggling just like you. In fact, not me. Other people will definitely be struggling like you if you feel like you've got a mountain of debt to climb, if you're trying to save for a home or get on this godforsaken property ladder, if you're trying to invest and you're unsure. That is what we are here for. And I think if I reflect on, the Vault journey and where we've gone with it, the dilemmas are so important. They're very, very vulnerable, very honest, direct, because they can be anonymous. People reveal their souls. They reveal very, very private things because they've nowhere else to turn, or they really value not just our perspective, but the wider community's perspective. I love it when you guys all sit and think, how would I advise this person? Like, what guidance would I give as a friend? Because most of this is life stuff, isn't it? There's a little bit of money intertwined, but it's so much more about people than it is about money. We've had so much fun doing the Unlocked series, and we have a massive backlog of things that people want us to look into, give our view on, help you understand a little bit more. But at the same time, we like to keep things fresh, and we like to keep making sure that we're giving you exactly what you need to be in complete control of your money. So with that in mind, we've got a bit of a twist for this episode. We get so many DMs, emails, questions. And if you think about it, on the Vault, where we do the dilemmas, they're quite lengthy and complex dilemmas. They usually have multiple characters and multiple feelings and multiple elements. And, Lucy will take the time to share the dilemma, and we'll kind of workshop the dilemma. On the other end, we've got Unlocked, where we kind of take a topic and pick it apart and help, everyone understand that in a particular way. There's a whole lot of Q&A in the middle that you guys ask that is really hard wouldn't really fit as a dilemma as such, because it's kind of a one-off question, but is otherwise answered kind of like one-to-one. And we just think that you guys would benefit from seeing or hearing the questions that other people are asking, because if they're asking them, you may well be thinking, I could do with the answer to that too. So Lucy has done some digging into all the archives of all the questions that we get, all the dilemmas that don't quite make it as dilemmas, and we're going to bring it together for this episode. So it's going to be a little bit Q&A. I've not seen them. I'm going to be so transparent. I think in my head, I thought, I'll do loads of prep for this and know what my answer is going to be for each one. I haven't. And the reason I haven't is we don't do that on the Vault. And I think it's right that it's a bit authentic. So if it's a bit messy, it's just Laura on her couch with a microphone, with the hope that I can help in some way. And with that in mind, you are the content of all these podcasts. So if you have a specific question, a specific dilemma, send it into thevault@financial.com, and we will look to see if we can help answer it and on which on which show we do that. Anyhow, I'm going to jump in. Question number 1 is, I always feel guilty for spending money. How do I stop? Before I answer these, I always sit and think, who might have sent something like this? Like, what kind of person says, I always feel guilty for spending money? If you are operating your budget on your own, if you have no dependents, if you're someone who just looks after yourself, you probably feel guilty perhaps because you're getting in your own way. So maybe you have a financial goal or an expectation from others that you're going to save for a home when you're going to move out if you're living at home, or that you should be doing better than you should. And so maybe that could be why you feel guilty, because spending doesn't align with the behavior that's required to do the goal or to achieve the goal that you're looking to achieve. Sometimes we feel guilt because of other people, like we feel like we're letting other people down, and I mean financially. So if you're in a couple and you manage money, and if you are part of a family where you have dependents, every time you choose to spend money on something for you, in fact, the question doesn't say for you, by the way, it just says spending money, but every time you feel inclined to spend, Feelings of guilt appear because it's a trade-off, isn't it? Like it could have been spent somewhere else. You know, you show me someone's bank account and where they spend money and how much they spend on what. It'll reveal a lot about them. It'll reveal a lot about their values, their preferences, their habits. It's kind of like a window to your soul, isn't it? Looking at where the ping goes. So we've talked about the person who possibly might think other people should think they should be doing other things with their money rather than spending it. We've talked about the fact that people depend on you financially and you're deciding to spend money in a particular way. But the other side as well could be someone who is a spender. I think this comes down to thinking about your money personality. What are you like as an individual? Do you like to spend? Do you get the dopamine hit? Are you always thinking about the next thing that you need? You know, it's not necessarily all about frivolous or impulsive spending. It might just be things, consumer items, goods form a big part of your life. And that's especially true if you spend your life with someone who's a saver. And so if you think about the dynamics there, I can imagine that if you live with a saver and you're the one doing the errands, buying the presents, buying the clothes, buying the this, buying the that, you appear more frivolous and you appear more of a spender. But you could be spending on everyone's behalf. But because your, co-budgeter, whoever that person is a saver, it makes you feel guilty. Because this is what it comes down to. This is the feeling, isn't it? The feeling of guilt. We're all somewhere on that spectrum of saver spender, and sometimes it changes at different points in our lives. But you shouldn't always feel guilty for spending money. You shouldn't always feel guilty. Sometimes we should feel guilty, but just like how we might feel guilty because we didn't do the washing up when it was probably our turn. Or we didn't go to a friend's birthday that they would have wanted us to go to, but we decided to stay in and be a hermit. You will especially feel guilty if you're a people pleaser, if you're a big empath and you really worry about how the other person thinks. Sometimes, and Holly always says this on the pod, like we're the main character of our lives. And so we think that if we do something that isn't exactly what someone else wanted us to do, that we're letting them down in some way. So I think firstly, I would love the person that's asked this to really think about why do they feel guilty? And we really need to start to unpick when you should feel guilty and when you shouldn't. So I have a solution that covers all of these scenarios, right? Which is the budget. It's the B word. The budget is permission to spend, okay? And so whether you are a solo budgeter or whether you have a combined budget in the household, building a budget together is a great way of agreeing where spending should be guilt-free. Every decision, every penny in that budget is a decision to put money somewhere towards something, whether it's to pay the rent or whether it's to pay for food or whether it's to pay for nails or whether it's to pay for new clothes. Whatever the category and the amount is needs to be decided on intentionally. And there's always a trade-off because the money can always go somewhere else. So whether that money goes to the I like expensive cocktails fund or whether it goes to fuel, we've decided that it goes there. So we need to get to a point where our budgets are balanced. And what I mean by balanced is having it so that you have your needs taken care of, your sinking funds are in a good place for things that you're going to be spending, you have your discretionary spending appropriate, and you also have an excess. And the excess is the thing that's going towards your goals. So that's going to emergency saving, that's going to paying down debt, that's going to investing, that's going to buying property. And if you have those, like the budget donut, if you think about it in the app, if you have it in a good place where you are doing things that will grow your net worth, you are doing things that are positive financially, you can do that and have spending categories. The two can exist together. Now, how quick you want to move towards those financial goals will impact how big a section the spending section is versus how big the excess section is. And it can change. You can have some really intensive saving months and you can have some lighter saving months and allow ourselves the spending. But it's always a trade-off. And so when you set a budget like that and you've decided the right amounts and you kind of lock it down and stamp it and say, yeah, we're in, you really shouldn't feel guilty because your spending shouldn't be derailing the financial goals. So point number one is get to that budget and get to an agreed point, because what's amazing about spending from those categories is you can sleep more peacefully at night because you know that you're still moving in the right direction financially, but you can nod over there and say, but we're still doing this, we're not going there. And actually having that element of spending allows us to not feel like it's too intense and actually can keep us on track financially. The irony of all this is actually spending can be really good for a money journey because it's just the right amount to keep you engaged and keep you feeling like you're not going without. But it's the power to turn it off if you want to is super helpful. So I feel like the budget is the key to all this. If you feel guilty because you think you could be saving much more, then I just think have a little look at maybe doing some challenges and some breaks from spending. Do try and pull back a little bit if you need to see you hit a certain number with a goal or something like that. So make sure that the amounts work for you. And I guess the final thing that we've kind of not talked about is like your background, your history, how money was spoken about in your house, because lots of us feel guilty because of something to do with childhood, a memory at some point, like maybe you didn't have a lot and suddenly you've got money and so you feel guilty for spending. Maybe you grew up around a super saver who didn't like any spending at all. And just kind of nod to that and go, give yourself a bit of a break, because it's all part of how we think and how we operate. That could be massively impacting you. If you feel guilty for any spending at all, then quite frankly, you need to practice guilt-free spending. So set yourself these small amounts that don't derail the budget, get more used to it. Plan for a treat. It might be save up your spending and then splurge on something that, again, doesn't derail the budget, but is a celebration of something later. It might be, a wardrobe item. It might be a trip, whatever it is for you. As long as it's forms part of this plan, we're allowed to do it. Spending isn't evil. So I hope that answered your question. And for anyone else that also feels guilty around spending, really go on a bit of journey of self-discovery about why you feel guilty, in what circumstances. And if there's someone in your life who's making you feel guilty for spending, you're much easier changing you than you are them. So think about your boundaries. Think about, you may think that, but I know deep down I've got a plan, etc., etc. You're going to feel a lot better and you're going to feel less guilty. You might hear someone and appreciate what they've said, but you still do you. And then lastly, actually, if this is a problem with spending, if you actually have an impulsive spending problem, 2 Vault Unlocks ago, we did a deep dive on impulsive spending, lots of tips and tricks on how to navigate that for you. Okay, let's move on to question 2. And actually, side note, if you are someone who's sending us these shorter ones or the longer ones, if you ever want your name to be read out, then you might want that, and you are welcome to say and ask for that. So I've not revealed who this person is who sent this, but if you want to add your name on, we can share it with the Franchelle community and share that you've asked the question. So this question says, I'm in debt and it feels like I'm starting from zero. What would you do? I hear the defeat in your voice and the fact that you're saying I'm starting from zero. And that is what debt can feel like. It can feel like this mountain that you're starting at the bottom and it's your Everest, and you're just thinking, what on earth? How am I going to be able to do this? Firstly, you're not alone. Lots of people will feel exactly the same, and it must be very strange for people in their regular lives when loads of other people don't care about debt. Debt is so normal. It is thrust upon us at every single opportunity. We are used to it. We're used to being offered it in supermarkets, and when we're purchasing a car, when we're buying anything online. All we know is it's very popular to use credit to buy things, and we know it's aggressively marketed, and so it's so normal to have debt. It's then really weird that the minute we kind of want to go, actually, this isn't serving me very well, I don't want to be in debt anymore, you suddenly have to keep it private. It's suddenly something to be more ashamed of. It's fine when you were getting the things, but later when you finally kind of accept that you don't want it in your life, it's like accepting that you've done something wrong, or admitting that you've got a particular type of problem, which you may or may not have, but it's this stigma around debt. And so this can add to this feeling like you're just starting from zero and you've just got a mountain to climb. I like zero though. I like the idea that you decide this is the worst it's ever going to be. It is never going to be worse than today. I'm never going to be in more debt than I am today, because that's a position of power, and it's a position of strength, and it's a position of you taking control and saying, no, we are building a plan and I am going to pay off this debt. And then I will be looking up in future and looking back and looking at how far I came having paid off this debt. So that's what I want you to do. I want you to accept that zero is now. We are never coming back to zero. And what's going to happen is you're going to do a few things. You are going to make sure you list out all your debts. List them all, do a free credit report if you want to have a little look to see exactly kind of how much you have, but you're going to know them. They're going to be your friends that you're then going to ditch, which is a bit sadistic, so sorry. But yeah, you're going to list them out. You're going to know who the debt is with. You're going to know how much it's for. You're going to know the interest rate. You're going to know the minimum payment. That is our target list that we're going to go after. At the same time, you're then going to make sure you do a budget. And you do a budget with this debt in mind, because you are going to want to pay off this debt aggressively and move up from zero and climb this mountain and get to the top. And so a budget is the way we do that, because as we know, financial land, you take your income, you minus off your fixed expenses, your monthly sinking fund amounts and your flexible expenses, and then you will have an excess left over. And the excess ultimately is the thing that's going to drag you up this mountain. So we need to be super, super particular with this budget and know that we're in Survive. This is playbook Survive. You are going to go after it so aggressively, so intensely. But this isn't forever. It's for a period of time. So again, if we think about playbook, you need to make sure that you've got a mini emergency fund behind you. Let's hope it's around at least 1 month's expenses. If you've not got that, then you use your excess to build that up first. Where else do you have savings? Where do you have money lying around? What can you sell around the house? What can you do to build up this mini emergency fund so that you can then jump over and start paying off the debt? We've got a Vault Unlocked specializing in the debt payoff, but in a summary, you kind of pick your method, whether you do Snowball, whether you do Avalanche. One is focused on paying off debts, smallest to largest. I like that the best. The other one is maths driven. So it's the Avalanche. You pay off with the highest interest rate first. Again, if you've got real penalty interest rates or high interest rates, it can make you feel a lot better to do that one. But whichever one it is, you pick which one to do and you focus on one debt at a time. You pay minimum on all of them and you overpay one. And slowly and surely, you're going to climb that mountain. You're going to pull yourself up from zero. And there will be a time, if you commit to this and if you go all in, that you'll be debt free, that you will not pay finance payments to anyone, that you will have loads of extra money every month because you're not sending payments to all these different finance companies. You will be in such control of your money, and then you can set more aspirational goals, but you'll never feel zero again. I promise you. If you go all into this and you build up that emergency fund and you smash those debts and then you build a bigger emergency fund, it is super unlikely that you'll ever be in that position again. Zero to hero. I'm here for it. Zero to hero. Thank you for your question. Question number 3. I know what sinking funds are, but how do I actually set them up? Yes, I love the practical element of this question. So for those people that don't know what sinking funds are, they are pots of money that we build up for planned expenses. So these could be for practical things like my car maintenance or home maintenance. It could be for big insurances. So when you want to take advantage of the cheaper annual payment, you save monthly for your car insurance, your travel insurance, your home insurance. And then when that's due, you pay for it in full. Or it could be the more popular travel ones, Christmas ones, anything where there's a minimum of like a quarterly or a 6 monthly or an annual payment for something at some point that's going to be a chunk. You save up in advance for it, and you do that because it helps you to avoid debt for, oh, Christmas has come or holidays come and I kind of don't have the money, so I'll just put it on the card and I'll sort it later. But it also means you don't have to dip into savings as well. Lots of us don't like dipping into our savings. I definitely don't. I don't like going to my savings for things that I knew were coming because they should have been in the budget. So this is what sinking funds are. Obviously in the app, they are broken down into if it's monthly or it's however periodically your budget runs, if it's weekly, monthly, you work out what that amount is and you put it in the budget. And then this is where the answer to your question is. So we want to get super practical with our sinking funds. I like having my sinking funds in pots that are just off my current account. I happen to use Starling, but you Monzos, you Chases, Revolut's, lots of these banks do have pot functionality. And so what it means is you can create a pot for each of your sinking funds. I also use it for my flexible expenses as well. And you move the money in there, and then you can set a total so you know how much you want in there. And when you need to use it, you just move it back into the current account and pay that way. Other people, if you don't have that pot functionality and you like the bank that you're with, I really recommend having sinking funds just in a separate bank account to your current account. It still could be another current account, but it needs to be separate so that you don't mix the money up. And actually, a really cool feature in the financial app that I think came out the back end of last year is a sinking fund tracker. It was something that was asked for a lot. And a really recent update is you can actually move them to your homepage as well and have a little look on your homepage. So have a play around with that. But you could, in theory, say if you had £10,000 total of sinking funds, nice round number, and you move all those to your bank account B. Bank account A is your bill account and it's your current account. It's where you do all your spending, and you keep your sinking funds in bank account B. Would be great if bank account B had a lovely interest rate. So again, it may change. It could be like an easy access saver or something. Not as useful to be an ISA because you're just going to use up your allowance by putting money in and out, but that's by the by. And so you have a separate account for your sinking funds, but you can track them in the app. And so you can know that, of this £10,000, actually 3,000 of it is travel and 2,000 of it is Christmas and 1,000 of it is my car insurances. And that's how you can know at any one time, using the total at the bottom, how much is in your sinking fund pot and where you are at in each of those. So you've got two ways of doing it. Do it with a pot functionality bank account, or do it with a big chunky savings account making interest, but it's divided up in the financial app. We are going to jump ahead to question number 4. How do I budget if I don't get paid the same every month? This is so timely because we did actually do a Unlocked last week, which was about fluctuating income or self-employed income, which sometimes you can struggle for it to be predictable and you don't know what you're going to make. So I would definitely direct you to go listen to that. But just for kind of a high level stuff, there are a couple of different ways you can budget when you've got an inconsistent income. One of them is the pay a month ahead. One of them is the budget a month ahead method, which is called a month ahead, but you technically do it 2 months ahead. So bear with me. Sometimes it's really hard to say if you've got a fluctuated income and you get paid on the 31st of January and you need that money and you need to know that income in your head to do February's budget. It's so close. And if you happen to have had a bad month, and if you happen to have had a low income month in January and you only know that on the end of January, or you only got paid that at the end of January, then it's really hard to do February's budget. And what if your expenses are higher than the budget money, the income money? So what we do is we skip forward a month and we say January's income is used for March's budget, because we do March's budget at the end of February. I want you to stay with me. Let's imagine on the 31st of January, you get paid all your commissions or income or client money on the last day of January. It's really hard to turn that around for February's budget. So imagine if you actually had December's money ready for the February budget, and the January money is used for the March budget. So even though it sounds like I'm skipping 2 months, actually practically it's only 1 month. And so you save up an extra. The way you get to do this is you build savings of 1 month and you use that as your buffer month. And I've seen loads of people do this really effectively, and it seems to be the cleanest way that you can budget for fluctuating income, but not excessively fluctuating. But it keeps it clean because you're not left until the last minute to know what money's coming in. So if you can pick like an average month, build that up and put it to one side, then effectively when money comes in January, you push it out to a separate account, and then you bring in December's income and then use that as if it's a salary. And so it might sound a little complicated, but once you've worked your way through it, if that was you can really understand how you do it. The problem is you've just got to get ahead a month and you've got to be able to save that extra month. And that isn't really your emergency fund. It is your cash, and it's it is kind of an emergency fund, but we would want one of those as well. So that's the budget a month ahead method. The other method is waterfall method. In a nutshell, what you're going to do there is you're going to build a budget around essential expenses first. So your bare bones budget expenses. So making sure you look after your home, making sure you look after your food, your essential bills, things that are super important to prioritize. And you, like a waterfall, the income that you get, and you pick, the bare bones budget, you needs to match up to at least your lowest typical income month. Once you've nailed that, the pressure's a little bit off because you're kind of like, okay, anything else is gravy. We're in a good place because we've been able to cover our expenses. And then like a waterfall, you're pouring the water down the budget. And next we would have, okay, the first bare bones budget wouldn't have sinking funds in it because it's just what I actually need to get through that month. So you then would fill up some of your sinking funds. And then if there's more income, it pours down and it can then come to more bougier expenses. So a nicer, an eating budget, an eating out, not an eating budget, but an eating out budget if you didn't have one, or a hair and beauty budget, or a clothing budget if you didn't have one, because all those are not bare budget essentials. They are nice to haves. And then also lastly, I'm going to say it last, but it doesn't mean it comes last in priority. You would have your excess. So making sure that in every budget, we're putting money towards things that grow. Could be savings, could be paying off debt, could be investing. So what you do is you create a budget in the app, which is your absolute minimum essential budget, which matches the minimum that you're likely to bring in on fluctuating income. And then in the actuals, where extra money comes in, you can kind of backfill and go, okay, next we're going to do sinking fund stuff. You might want to keep that in notes actually as well, like what you'd like to do, what are the nice to haves that you'll do with extra money if it comes in. And again, looking at your excess, and again, looking at more, fuller, flexible expenses that are not essentials. And that's the way that you deal with the lowest that you're going to make. But you can cater for when you have these higher months as well. You have to really think, I might load up my sinking funds. I might really put extra into my pension. I might really put extra into savings, because the next time there's a lower month, I might not be able to do that. So those are the two main ways that you can budget a fluctuating income. Again, we did a really in-depth pod on it that you might want to listen to. We've got another question. I want to save money, but I also want to enjoy life. How do I find the balance? You are in the right place, question asker number 5. It's a particular dynamic, isn't it, about balancing like the here and now, and our needs here and now, and our wants here and now, and the short term, the medium term, and the longer term. Your question where it says, I want to save money, but I also want to enjoy life, kind of indicates that it's either one or the other a little bit. You do say, how do I find the balance? So I'll give you that, but it doesn't need to be an either or. I speak to people, and they'll definitely be listening to this podcast, who have lost people young. They've lost partners, husbands, parents young. And so for them, it's really hard to think about super long term, because life's for living. Like, it could all go tomorrow. I want to enjoy myself. I don't want like never ending delayed gratification. And they're such difficult conversations, because that is correct. Like, imagine if you didn't live life and you didn't do what you wanted to do, and you just basically squirreled away money and saved and saved and saved. And, lots of people say you can't take it with you when you go. And that's so true. The flip to that is, what if we are here? What if we do meet our average life expectancy, if not beyond? And we've not provided for the future. We're kind of not looking after our future self. It's a real interesting balancing act, as you say, between saving money, and by saving, I want to talk about saving money, investing money, paying off debt, like doing things on your money journey, and making sure that you are enjoying life. And enjoying life sometimes means spending, and sometimes doesn't. Enjoying life isn't necessarily spending money on expensive cocktails and buying new clothes, but it might be spending time with friends, and it might be spending time with loved ones, and whatever that costs to do that. But we will convince ourselves of anything. So sometimes by saying, I want to live life, like I want to be able to do this, I want to be able to do that. What do you mean? What's the thing that's going to bring you enjoyment? Because too often we associate the enjoyment with the spending of the thing that we'll just excuse ourselves to be like, treat yourself and YOLO. But enjoying your life might also be travel. It might also be that really nice meal out, that experience, that memory. And that might come with money, and money is needed for that. And so the two can live together. The aim for us with Financial is to get you to a place where you have a budget that lets you enjoy your life today, enjoy your life next week and next month, and enjoy your life in 30 plus years time. That's the goal. There are times in your life when the balance will tip. So it could be that there is a debt-free journey and an urgency. And so we're spending less, and maybe we're enjoying ourselves a little less. I love it when we find fun in those moments and embrace the freebies and embrace the cost-effective times and lean into that element of debt payoff, that I can still enjoy my life and be more frugal. I can still enjoy life and do less that costs money. So sometimes the pendulum swings that way, and other times it can be spending times. That might be like getting married, or it might be like having the kids and taking the kids somewhere nice, or it might be treating family, or it might be going through a wardrobe update or a house update. All the interiors, you might move home and you might plow your money and your energy into interiors, and for a period of time, as long as we're using cash to do it and not using credit, that's okay. So this is all about balance, and I do believe you can save and enjoy life. I'm doing that now. And there are levers you can pull to make that easier. You can bring in more income. More income means more money. More money means more choices. At the same time, it also might mean pulling back on income. You might have a job you absolutely hate, and so you love saving money, but ultimately you want to enjoy life, and so you want to pull back and move to a different career, a different role, a different job that doesn't give you the same financial reward, but it gives you a more enjoyable life. That's okay too. So I hope that answered your question, and I want to encourage anyone listening to this that you can have balance. There'll be different moments in your life where it swings one way or the other, and you just have to know which season you're in, like different seasons of life. And if you do find yourself staying too long on one side, the pendulum swinging too far towards enjoying life and not doing any saving or anything financially responsible, bring yourself back to the middle. Come back to middle. Still have some spending and enjoying, but come in the middle. And if you find yourself just squirreling loads of money away and save and saying no to everything, not being as social, not doing things that could bring you joy, try bring it back the other way. I feel like I've talked about the people that I've spoken to that are very much, what's the point, and I want to live life for today, and that I still want them to be able to look after themselves in the future, because odds are they're going to be around, and they're I don't want them to be in hardship in later life. And on the flip side, I've got some very special friends who've passed away young, and one in particular, he, was an amazing investor and very frugal, and was a multimillionaire, and would make like this homemade mushroom soup and would have it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday at work. And it was like, a running joke around us. And I'm sure he enjoyed the mushroom soup on Monday and Tuesday, but I promise you by Thursday and Friday, we were like, she would go get food from downstairs, or, she would go to Nando's for lunch and stuff. But he was very strict with his money management. And I do think later in life, he learned to spend a little bit more, and therefore learned to enjoy life more. But I do sometimes wonder, I wonder if he wished he'd have been a bit more extravagant, treated himself to that car, treated himself to that extra trip. He did treat himself so, and it's not a great example, but I always come back to that, which is like, I want to learn from him and learn from what he taught, and also respect the fact that he enjoyed the frugality. Like, you can enjoy it as well, but maybe I wish I'd have pushed him a little bit to indulge. But he, had an amazing life and an amazing man, and left an amazing legacy to his family. And I don't think any of us will ever get it right. Even asking that question means you're on it and you're thinking about this balance. And it's going to be a constant challenge. We're always here to help you. I am even here for the specifics. Like, if you want to message in and go, okay, I really want this watch, and I'm a watch guy and I really like it and I want to invest in it and I want to buy it for me, but I've got these money goals and I wonder if it's been a bit frivolous. Like, come with the specifics, because that can sometimes bring to life the problem that you're asking, the situation that you're in. We may then think about, okay, what does a watch cost in proportion to your net worth or your disposable cash? This trip that you want to go on, are you paying with it with cash? How far back does it put your goals? As opposed to, I'm going to buy it with credit. I've got this watch, I really want it, it's going to be amazing, I've always wanted it, I want to enjoy my life and have this watch, and I'm going to put it on finance. The answer is going to be different, isn't it? So come with the specifics, they're always welcome. So that's a wrap, guys, on the Vault Q&A unlock. I hope this was a way for us to answer some of the questions that you're sending in that may not be right for the longer vault, or we just don't have capacity to get them in. If you were listening to this and you had a perspective and you want us to pass that back, we can share it back on here as well, then feel free to email in with that as well. So any questions, any comments, thevault@financial.com, we will endeavour to get through them and find the right show for them so that we can share it within the community and people get the answers and validation and support, hopefully, that they need. And as the episode draws to the close, I just want, for those of you listening, to take a moment to reflect on where you're at in your money journey. How hard you're finding it, how easy you might be finding it. Do you want to ramp things up? Do you want to get to your destination quicker? If you've been listening to us for a while and you've been doing the financial method, how far have you come? What are your wins? Where did you start? What place were you in? And where are you now? If you're brand new to us, where are you at? What's your situation and where do you want to get to? I love, this is the financial train, like people are getting on at different destinations and people are getting off at different destinations. And I love hearing about your progress. And when you share it in the community and app, like, you inspire so many other people that I want you to keep doing that. This stuff is hard. Sometimes we'll have life hit us. Sometimes we'll have relationship breakdowns. We'll have, deaths in the family. We'll have marriages and children and all the complicated relationship issues around that. We'll have house moves. We'll have emergencies. So much is going to come at you. That's what's the beauty of the financial methodology. It all stays the same. That stays the constant as life changes. So yeah, take that time to have a think. Where are you at? What do you want to achieve next? And can we help you with that? Because that's literally why we exist. So send us a message if you found it helpful. I would love it if you could share with friends, family, drop it in your WhatsApp groups, get people following, get people sharing, because it'll then appear in people's podcast feeds and YouTube feeds, and we're going to be able to get more people help. And just to close, a disclaimer, The Vault Unlocked is a light-hearted chat around life and money. We are not giving financial advice. Bye-bye.